Okay, so let's begin. We're going to start the topic of the Omer. What was it? When was it? Why was it? Where does it come from? What's it all about? So we'll start with the verses in Vayikra, Chaf Gimel, chapter 23. 122, I think.
What section?
Not the packet, in the book. New section, Sefirat HaOmer. In the book.
Is it counting the Omer?
Yes, that's section 1. So what exactly was the Omer? So let's have a look. Because we're going to see, most people think the Omer is a counting or a time. But that is actually not technically correct. It is a little bit. But before it was that, it was an object. Let's have a look. Vayedaber Hashem el Moshe limor. Hashem spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu saying, Daber b'nei Yisrael v'hamad alehem ki tavol haaretz. When you come to the land of Eretz Yisrael, there's a mitzvah you're going to have to do. Asher ani noten lechem, which I'm giving to you. Uksartem litzkitzira. You're going to reap your beautiful, delicious harvest. V'aveitem es Omer. You're going to bring an Omer, Reishit Ktsirachem, of the first of your harvest to the Kohen. So the first of your harvest, you're going to bring a measurement of a certain produce to the Kohanim as a gift.
That's
okay?
Omer?
That's what it is. El HaKohen, to the Kohen. And when you bring to the Kohen, you're going to do something very unusual. Vehinif et HaOmer, you're going to wave the Omer, Lefnei Hashem, before God, L'rtzonechem, as an appeasement for you, Mimacharat HaShabbat, Yanifu HaKohen. This is going to happen the day following Shabbat. Now, interestingly, the Shabbat over here, being referred to, Chazal, is actually Pesach. Right after Pesach, you're going to go out to your fields and you're going to bring this as a gift. Interesting that the Sadducees learned this out literally, and after the Pesach, after the Shabbat rather, around Pesach time, they would bring this. They actually have a different calendar. However, the rabbis tell us the Shabbat over here is a reference to the first day of Pesach, which means this is not going to happen on the first day. It's going to happen on the day after the first day of Pesach, which is the second day of Pesach, which in Eretz Yisrael was already Chol HaMoed. Okay? So, let's just summarize what the Torah has told us so far.
So second day of Pesach, you said?
Yeah, that's what the Torah says. It says the day following. Right? Mimacharat HaShabbat, day after Pesach. Why it begins the second day of Pesach and not the day itself of Pesach, whatever it was, we shall see that together. Okay? So what's the purpose of it? What are you doing over here? What's Hashem want from us? Why do I have to do this at all? So what's the message of this Omer offering, this object, and what actually was it? What actually was it? We're going to see that it was one specific crop. Says the Chizkuni, Ein derech eretz. It's not derech eretz. Shetachlu min hachadash, that you get to eat from the new crop that has come in. Ad shetviu mimenu doron HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You got to bring a doron. What's a doron? A gift. You've got to bring a gift to Hashem. You have this beautiful new crop that's sprouting up all over Eretz Yisrael. And you're in agriculture, the crops come up. Before you start to take those crops and grind and make flour and make bread out of it and eat it, all the rest of it, before you do that, they're like, you know what, this is chadash, this is new. First you do is show gratitude to Hashem, thanksgiving. And how do you take this Omer, this amount of the crop, and you bring it to the Kohen. Why the Kohen? Because the Kohen is God's representative, right? So you bring it to the Kohen, you actually bring it, as it were, to God, to Hashem himself. Why are you showing gratitude about this?
So Omer is an amount?
Omer is an amount, yes. It's going to refer to an object. So the Omer is going to refer to an object, we're going to see, of a crop, but it's an amount. Amar Rav Yanai. Rav Yanai, this is from Vayikra Rabbah. B'nog sheba olam is the way of the world. Adam lokeach litra achad shel basar. A person buys some meat from the market, min hashuk. and how much effort he has to put into it until he gets it and he cooks it, he prepares it. And everyone's asleep, right? Hashem is taking care of the whole thing for him. Hashem's bringing the rain and the clouds and watering the crops for us, and all this lovely stuff comes up for us. Baruch Hu Meishiv Ruchot Umale and Anim Umagadal Tzmech, and all the sprouts come up, Umdashis Apeiros, and all the delicious fruits come out for us. We don't do anything. Ve'ein not lo ela schar Omer. And what do? We give him the value of an Omer, right? And that's why it says V'veitem va'omer reishis kisirchem. So this is basically our way of saying thank you to Hashem for all the wonderful things that Hashem does for us. We're sleeping in bed, and all this stuff happens. So it's a form of gratitude. That's what the Omer is about. So far, is the Omer a good thing or a bad thing? Good thing. Are we happy or are we sad? We're happy. We're happy. People make the mistake that the Omer is a sad time in the Jewish calendar. That's because of stuff that's going to happen much later in Jewish history. But up to now, it's a wonderful thing. We come to the land of Eretz Yisrael, right? We have our own land. We possess the Eretz itself, the great mitzvah of being a land itself. We have all these mitzvahs to do with the land, and this is one of them. What else does this do? What else does it? So first of all, it's a thanksgiving to Hashem that we get the land of Israel. That we give a piece of the first part of the land, fruits, to a HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But there's something else to this as well. Remember, the Jewish people were in Egypt for hundreds of years. Then we leave and we're in a desert for 40 years, and we're not doing anything there either. We're fed by the man, miraculously from heaven. Now we come to the land, we become a nation for the first time in the land of Eretz Yisrael. What mistake could a person make? They could think that I'm in charge. All this stuff is happening for me because I am brilliant, I'm a great businessman, a great business person, I can grow crops, I'm successful, I'm a shepherd, whatever it is. It could be in your mind that we become successful in the land because we are great at what we do, and we forget Hashem. So part of this mitzvah as well is to remember that there's a God that allows all this stuff to happen. And how do you remember that? By giving some back to Hashem. A person can feel, so that a person does not feel, heaven forbid, says the Sifsei Chaim. It is my power and it's my strength that let this happen. It's all about me. You know why? I'm a great farmer, I'm great in agriculture, I know how to make the best crops. It's all about me. That's a mistake. That's a big mistake, especially in Eretz Yisrael. A person should not think that it's only because of their efforts that success comes to them. Shaloi yachshav, a person should not think, Harashi zirati v'atani kotzer, I plowed and I put the crops in and I seeded and now I'm gonna reap my harvest. Hinei kiken ani gedalti hatetzvua. It's all about me. I did it. Therefore, the Torah is teaching this person, lohu. That's not true. But kocho kim hakadosh baruch hu nosan lanos aparnasah. We're learning a very important principle over here, which is going to apply to all, not just agricultural, but all instances of us making a living, which is what we do. And that is, it comes from Hashem. Hashem decides how much money we get and when we get it. So I was talking to a guy last night. I was in Brooklyn speaking at Rage. It's a Jewish organization over there for Russians. And he said to me, we have a certain colleague, I hadn't seen in a while. I said, how's he doing? He says, he's in business now. He became a multi-millionaire. I said, what do you mean? He was in chinuch. He was like, And he says, he went into business. He wasn't making enough in chinuch, so he had to go into business. He said he didn't have any money. He used to take hand-me-downs. And then he put a little bit of money towards some property, which he borrowed from a friend. And he sold it a few weeks later for a few $1 million. And it was like, sold Min Shemayim. The guy now is like a humongous business guy. Just out of nowhere. How does that happen? Hashem decides who gets and doesn't get. You have people, I've seen people who are so smart and don't have 2 pennies rubbed together. And I've seen people who've got the brains of this table and Hashem gives them. I'm telling you. I know we grew up thinking you work hard and you get an education. It's not true. Hashem decides who gets and if they get to keep it. That's something else, by the way. See many people who get a lot of money as gifts or as inheritance, and they get rid of that very quickly. That is the principle over here. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one who gives parnasah. By you giving away some of your money to charity because it goes to the Kohen who needs it, you are basically testifying that we don't make our own living, Hashem gives us. That's what you're saying. Just the act of giving away makes it. It reminds me of that. I mentioned this story last night actually, but it's in my head right now. One of the Rothschilds many years ago, they were a very wealthy family. Well, they still are, but they had money now. So one of the Rothschilds was being interviewed by the London Times. So the journalist said to him, "Tom, what are you worth?" Which back then was a chutzpah. Now that's all they ask about, right? That's all they say, what's your worth? What's your worth? It's a bit of a chutzpah. He says, "What's your worth?" So he thought about it for a minute and he said, "I'm worth about £5 million," which was complete nonsense. The guy was worth hundreds of millions. So he says, "That's not true. Why is he worth £5 million? Right, you're worth tons more of that." You know what he said to him? He said, "You asked me what I'm worth. £5 million is what I gave away in charity this year. That's my worth. You didn't ask me what I have, what I own. You asked my worth. My worth is what I give." Deep point, that. Okay. That's our worth is what we give away. So here, the mitzvah is to give. What you give away becomes your worth. That becomes your mitzvah. Right? And through that, Hashem blesses the person with more. Okay. How does this lesson? Alidation nostim harashis l'Hashem. What is the lesson about parnasah, about making a living? Alidation nostim harashis. You give the first bit you get, l'Hashem. You know, like those people who put those dollar bills on the wall in the restaurants. You ever see those dollar bills on the wall? That's the first dollar they make. You know, be better than that? Take out all stuck in the pushka. Put it in the charity box. That'd be a better place to put it. And put a fake one up on the wall. Right? Why? Because the first amount you make is very chaviv. Just they put that dollar on the wall because that's the most important dollar they make. You know, they stick it up on the wall. It's not a Jewish custom. The first dollar you make, give it away. Right? Say, Hashem, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. Keep giving me lots more. I'll give away as much as I can. Right? Keep loading me up. From the first parts of the most developed, ripened parts of the produce. By doing so, by giving away the most important thing you got, which is the first bit of money you got, or the first crop that came out of the ground, you are admitting Shakol Hu Met Hashem. It all comes from Hashem. Just you giving away money to tzedakah, especially for the first amount, we are most excited about it. Right? The first, finally, I've waited all year, I worked so hard, and finally here it comes. I'm giving it away. That's a very, very big sign. It's a very symbolic gesture, as well as being a practical gesture as well. Kashem Mekashrim et HaReshis, right? They would connect this first portion. Haprat HaReshit Mekoch Hakol Mitkadesh. By doing this, when you connect the first portion to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Mekasher it, he says, this first portion specifically, right? It reflects that all the portions that are going to come out, says the Sifrei Chaim, are going to be kadosh as well. If the first dollar goes to tzedakah, all the following dollars are mekadesh, become holy as well. Okay. Says Rabbi Hirsch, why is this contingent on us being in our own land? Well, first of all, it's a practical thing because they had to be in their own land in order to do it. They didn't have land beforehand. We weren't landowners in Egypt, we were slaves. We weren't landowners in the desert because no one owns the desert. This is the first time we become landowners. But there's some connection over here by the fact they're free as well. And he says when you've attained not only freedom, but national independence, because now they're a nation, which the possession of what owns land gives. So now you're a nation, you got your own land, you're in your country, Eretz Yisrael, and then you cut the produce of the land, bring that which the land has produced into your personal possession. Right? You bring it in. Then bring the first Omer that you cut. Right? How much is that? About the amount that corresponds to 1 day's food is what it is roughly. You're basically giving 1 day's food amount as the Omer to the Kohen. Who is that? That's your representative on Hashem's Beis HaMikdash in the temple. This cutting corresponds to the real harvest of the land. wheat, barley, oats, rye, and spelt. Now the Omer is actually barley. Why? So we're going to see a couple of reasons why the chosen produce that was brought as the Omer offering was barley. It could have been anything. Omer is an amount. Nachon? But barley was chosen. There are going to be two reasons. There's more. There are two we're going to discuss. Number one, barley is the fastest to ripen. So it's a technical reality. Right? Barley ripens the first. You don't wait for the wheat or anything else. You say, oh, that's the first thing that ripens before the wheat or the other produce. Take that and take it to the... What's better, barley or wheat? Wheat. Right? We know that lechem, speaking, wheat is considered to be a better, right? Chita is a better form of grain, we consider. Nowadays it's questionable, but then for sure it was a better form of grain. Barley was a lower form. What did you do with a lower form of grain? Give it to the animals, yeah. Right, it's actually animal food. Wheat was considered to be more human food. It was more precious, more sustaining. Okay, we'll come to that in a second. That's interesting as well, why we bring the lower grain. Well, the first reason is the quickest to harvest. Quickest to ripen, we bring that straight away. What do we do with this Omer? So you bring it to the Kohen, and the Kohen would grab your hands, you would hold it, and you would wave it around together in all directions. Up, down, and then into the four corners. That was called. It's called Hinifa. Just like we do with the lulav, right? Hinifa. We wave this offering around. Literally just wave it around. And it would be given as an offering. Very unusual ceremony that would happen. But it's going to be very symbolic as well. Right? And Rabbi Hirsch is very, very into Jewish symbolism. That's his big thing. That's what he's famous for. Seeing the symbolic meanings between all the mitzvot. Okay? It's fun. Just
what's
the weekend.
The second reason why we...
The second reason, we didn't look at the reason. We just looked at the fact that it is an animal food. It's a lower quality food. That's not a coincidence. That's not a reason. It's going to be a reason when we discuss it.
Which one is the
Barley. Barley is lower. Wheat is higher. It's actually because at this point, right after Pesach, we'll see that we're looking at bookends. Okay, we'll jump ahead for a second. What starts on Pesach ends on Shavuot. Right?
Yeah.
Shavuot. So we start, as it were, lower down, as it were, as animals on Pesach. And then we get to the wheat harvest, which is going to be the gift that we bring, that was brought on Shavuot. Shavuot is going to be 2 wheat loaves. So we start, as it were, lower down after Pesach, and then we build up till we get to Shavuot. Okay? We'll see more of that later, though. Okay, but what's this waving all about? So he says, to the Omer, we add the waving, consisting of horizontal movements in all 4 directions, north, east, south, and west, followed by upwards and downwards. Okay? By the procedure of waving, one's material nourishment, flour, one's well-being, oil. Oil always represents a symbolic of well-being. Right? That's why we used to anoint the kings with oil. That's why oil was used in the menorah. Oil always represents well-being. Right? So we're able to cook things through oil. Oil is always a good thing. And one's mental satisfaction life with incense, because the smell of the incense would lift a person's satisfaction, would make you feel better. Okay? All of them are represented in the Omer and are stripped of any idea of selfishness. So we have flour, which is material sustenance, oil, well-being, and mental satisfaction through the smell. When you smell something, you feel better, right? There's a lot of that. Reach, smell, inspires a person. That's why out of the 5 senses that we have, 4 of them were contaminated in the Garden of Eden. Right? We saw, we heard, we tasted the fruit. Right? We touched it, but we didn't smell. Smell was not. So they always say that reach is the most spiritual of all the 5 faculties that we have, the 5 senses. Reach is related to the word ruchanit, spiritual.
So you're waving it around so you can smell it?
No, we're saying that there was incense in it. It had a smell there as well. That's what the smell represents.
How do you have incense? They added it?
They added, yeah. Yeah,
So when you wave it, you're like waving the smell around?
I guess. Then this symbol of our earthly existence with all its prosperity and joy of life is placed in the temple to acknowledge that only through Torah's ruling influence can we find dedication to the community and to God. So you pull them all together, and you better get. And basically, they would travel. They would travel during HaOmer, and they would bring this offering, or appoint others. And this offering was brought at that time. Okay, and that's how they dedicated it. So we saw a number of things. Let's just recap because we said a lot. We saw this a mitzvah. As soon as you're in Israel, you start to plant things. The first stuff that comes out, you give to the Kohen. Why? Number one, thanksgiving. You're grateful to Kadosh Baruch Hu. This new plant. Two, so you don't think that it's because of your money and your power and your genius that you have success in life. That's a mistake people make. You have to realize that Parnassah success comes from the Kadosh Baruch Hu. What was used? Barley. Why barley? A couple of reasons, but one of them we're looking at right now. Barley is the quickest to ripen. So once it ripens, boop, we give. We give the first amount, the first Omer, which is amount of about 1 day's eating. So you're giving 1 day's dedication of food to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which went to the Kohanim as a gift. The Kohanim would eat it. That was theirs to eat, and they enjoyed it, right? Because they were supported. There's always been a group of Jews that were supported by the rest of the populace because they're involved in spiritual matters. Right? It's always been that way.
Isn't barley the worst quality?
It was the lowest. It was still edible, but it was lower. Definitely lower, but it was the first.
So wheat is better.
Wheat is better.
And that's why you said like at Shavuot we gave.
We're going to give wheat. Yes, that's correct.
So we started with barley and then we gave.
Yes, we start with barley, and then at the end we finish with wheat. We go from barley to wheat.
And then why did we give it again? Just this reason.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, we start with the barley offering, which we know as the Omer. So far, things are good, right? We're happy? Now we count the Omer. Is that good or not good?
No, it's good.
It's fantastic! What's not good about it? We're counting. What are we counting? We're counting to Har Sinai. This is a very joyous time. Again, this is a mistake people make. People think, oh, the Omer is depressing. I can't listen to music. That's much later. The Omer period. First of all, the Omer is not a period. It's an item. But the Omer period from Pesach Shavuot is a very joyous time. We're going from going free to Har Sinai. Right? That's going to be 49 days of rejoicing to reach the 50th, which is Har Sinai itself. Okay? That's the mistake I want to get out of your heads. Let's have a look. This is a Torah obligation. Look at the next page. Section 2. Usfartem lachem, you should count for yourselves, mimachrat Shabbat, from the day after Shabbat, miyom, from the day, haviechem et Omer, ha-tnufa, when you brought the Omer, the tnufa. What's the tnufa? Hanif, this wave offering, because it would wave it around in all directions to show that Hashem is everywhere, and we're grateful to Hashem for all this, from all the blessings that come from all directions. Haviechem et Omer, tnufa, sheva Shabbatot mimotiena, 7 weeks. 7 weeks is how long? 49 days. For 49 days you're going to do this.
What? Wave it around.
No, didn't say that. We're going to count. Usfaraten. We're counting. From the day you start from the day that the Omer was brought, this wave offering, from that day you count. Which, by the way, we still do. We don't bring the Omer anymore. We don't have a base of Mikdash, but we do count. When do we count? When's the first night of counting? Second night of Pesach. Your fathers or yourselves, whoever's the custom we'll see later on, will stand up and will make a brach on the Omer. Why the second night? Why not the first night? Bring on the first night. Do the first day. But why? Because we don't want to be married simcha with simcha. There's too much of a good thing. Let's spread it out. The first night we're involved in all the mitzvah, we have the matzah, the maror, we're involved, right? We have all the prayers to go with it. We're busy. So the Omer is brought the second day, right? Which is the second night, which is the beginning of the second day. Okay? We don't want to put together too much into one day. So when do we bring it? Ad Merchat Shabbat Shivit, until the end of the 7th week. Tispru Chamishim, you're going to count 50 days. V'krafta mincha chadasha Hashem, and then you're going to bring a new flour offering to Hashem. Now, what's that going to be?
The 2 loaves of wheat.
That's going to be right. We're going to have 2 loaves we're going to bring on Shavuot. And we're going to see later on, there is no coincidence when we get to Shavuot, which God we will get to in our discussions. We'll see there's many customs we have, right, to make sure that we have recollection of these double loaves that were brought in the Beit HaMikdash.
Why do we do it on the second night?
Because the first night and first day we're too busy. We're having too many mitzvot of Pesach. So we wait to the second day, right? Which in Eretz Yisrael is now Chol HaMoed. It's not Pesach. There's no mitzvot over there of the Pesach Seder. Okay? And it also says in Devarim, Shiva Shavuot Tispolach, count for yourself 7 weeks. From when? When your sickle comes down onto the standing grain. You're going to count 7 weeks. So 7 by 7. 7 by 7 is 49 days. Happy or sad? We're delighted. Look at the Sefer Chinuch, mitzvah 306 out of 613. He gives a nice, simple explanation for this counting. Misharsha mitzvah. What is the root of this mitzvah? This whole counting business. Okay, fine. I'll bring a nice korban. I'll bring a nice offering day after Pesach. But why am I counting every day? I'll give you the basic thing. Lefi shekol ikrin shel Yisrael ina ela Torah. Because what are the Jewish people all about? The Torah. That's what we love. That's what we're there for. That's our essence. It's what we're all about. Open our Torah, nivru shemayim v'aretz v'Yisrael. It's only because the Torah Hashem created the world, the universe, and the Jewish people. Or Kamosha Kasuv, as Jeremiah the prophet says, Im lo brisi yom v'layla. Had I not, if not for my covenant of Torah, right, day of night, I wouldn't have appointed. I wouldn't have made the whole universe. It's only because of the Torah. The Torah was the reason God created the world. Right? That's the way. That's the reason. Hashem even created the world by looking in the Torah. Right? The Torah was the blueprint for the world itself. V'hi ha'ikar ha'siba shenigalu. That's the reason we're taken out of Egypt. We're taken out of Egypt to get somewhere, not just be free and sit in a desert and do nothing. We're taken out of Egypt to get to Har Sinai. V'ikar v'ha'siba shenigalu v'yetu Mitzrayim kedei shikablu ha'Torah b'Sinai. V'kaimua, to receive it and to keep it. Upanei Cain, because of this. Kihi al ikran shel Yisrael, that is the main part of being Jewish. Uva'avura nigalu, and because of it we were taken out. Hashem, why was taking you out? Because I felt sorry for you. No, I took you out so you get the Torah. Turn over the page. And the whole redemption, everything that happens, is because of it. That because of that, we're told to start counting. Show your excitement. Count from day 1 right through to the last days. Laharot to, what was Laharot? We discussed this. We looked at the Rambam, who changed Lirot to Laharot. Show yourself, display. Remember that? Lirot is to see, Laharot is to show, display yourself. Laharot b'nafshenu, we're going to show in our souls hachefetz hagadol, the great desire, el hayom hanichbad, about this very awesome day, hanichsav levavenu, right? Which our hearts are yearning. Nichsof is to yearn. See the word kesef in there. The word money is in there because we have great yearning for money. Nichsof means a great desire. Evet shafzel, just like a servant yearns for the shade, take a little break. Right? So we're basically trying to get there. Interesting analogy he uses. Like a slave wants to get a little bit of shade to protect themselves. So to the Jewish people, when they get to Har Sinai, to receive the Torah, to protect ourselves. V'imnamet tambid, and we're going to count. Matai yavo, when's this day going to come? When I can go, finally I can really go free. Ki haminyan mare l'adam, counting says to a person, Ki kol yashu v'chol chavso lagia el hazman hahu. When you count to something, you're saying that I cannot wait to get there. When you count to something, you're saying that I can't wait to get there. The question is, though, there's two ways we can count. What are the two ways we can count? Up or down. How do we count on Hanukkah? How do we count the Omer?
Backwards.
We count up. 1, 2, 3, 4. We count up, up, up. We're going to count. Why are we going to do this? Why do we count up? Why not count down? Usually when you look forward to something, you count down, don't you? 10 days to go, 9 days to go, 8 days to go, 1 day to go, end of semester. Right? Your birthday's coming up, count up to your birthday, you count down. Just before we look at the sources, what's the difference between counting up and counting down? What's the difference between counting up and counting down? When you count down, when you go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's the difference between that and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10?
Counting how many days you have left and how many days are like past.
What's the difference? What's the difference between those two things?
Each day counts if you're counting up.
Why? Why does each day not count if you're counting down?
I'm just like getting rid of them.
I'm getting rid of them. They're just in the way. I'm counting down because I want to get out of college. Right? I'm counting 10, 9, 8. And each day is a blockage. It's annoying me. It's irritating me. I want it gone. Remove it from my life. I'm counting down. They're just in the way till I get to my destination. You can't say that. Although you're excited to get to the Torah, you can't say that about the Omer. Each day is precious, and each day we're going to see has its own kedusha, has its own holiness. So by counting down, you are dismissing. By counting up, you are getting excited, but you're building. Here's day 1. Now I'm day 2. What's day 2? Day 1 and day 2. Now I'm day 5. What's 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So counting up always signifies that I want to get there, but I'm enjoying the journey, not just the destination. Yeah? I'm enjoying the journey, not just the journey is as important as the destination. When I count down, I'm like, oh, these are just bad moments I have to get through. But let's look a bit at Rambam first. Says the Rambam, Shavuot hu Yom Matan Torah. Shavuot is the giving of the Torah. By the way, we have to see, because the Torah does not tell us that. The Torah discusses Shavuot, and the Torah discusses the giving of the Torah in great detail, but it doesn't connect them. We have to see why that is as well. Why does not the Torah not connect the two? So Shavuot hu Yom Matan Torah, Olahagdil hayu nimnu ayamim minam rishona elav. In order to honor and elevate the day, we count the days from the previous festival until it arrives. Kumosha mamtim bov, and now mincha bov, just like you're waiting for someone you love, says the Rambam, is the Moreh Nevuchim, chapter 3, verse 43. So too, we count from the days we left Mitzrayim until the giving Torah, until HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes us to the final part of the 4 redemptions that we went through, if you remember. Okay, let's look at the Chinuch. So the Chinuch is now in Mitzvah 306, and he carries on. V'zehu she'anu mon la'omer. And that's why we count the Omer. We don't just bring the sacrifice, we actually count the days out of excitement to get to Har Sinai. And we relive that every single year, which is why it's still a mitzvah to count every single year. Klomar, what would you say? Kach v'kach yamim ovru min ha'minyan. Sorry, the past and our counting. Right, that's how we count. Rather than counting how many days remain. Okay? By doing this, by counting up rather than down, he calls them mareban or ratzon. It shows our great desire, hachazak legia zman, to reach that time. V'alken lo nitzel lahazki b'tchila chashvadanein ribu yamim sheyesh lanu legia karban. We don't say, 48 days, 47 days, right? Till we get to the Shtei Alechem Shel Atzeret, the 2 breads of Atzeret, which is another way of saying Shavuot. Write that down. Atzeret, we'll see, is another expression the Torah uses to describe Shavuot. We don't count down. You say, well, maybe you could say, well, once I reach at least halfway through the count of the 7 weeks, we don't count down the days remaining. Shel Shiva Shavuot Elu. Alright? At that point, then you can start to maybe say, once I've gone halfway, then I can start to count down. Because then you'll say, I have less days to go, I'm more excited for it. Right? Then you're getting closer, then that shouldn't make you. So you don't change an accounting halfway through. You start counting up, you finish counting. You'd be like, well, maybe once I reach halfway, then already I'm getting close, I can start to do it. He says, don't do that. We don't do that. We carry the entire count from 1 right through to 49. Okay? 50th being Shavuot itself. The Im Tishal, and if you were to ask, which I'm sure some of you possibly did, Im Kain, Lama anon matchilim otumim macharat hashvat, v'lo miyom rishon. Why do we start counting on the second day and not the first day? He says, don't be surprised. You thought, well, I'm excited about it. First day of Pesach, we stand at the Pesach Seder, and we make the first bracha of the Omer. We don't do that. He says, don't be worried about that. That shouldn't bother you. Hateshuva, the answer is, Ki hayom rishon, the first day was specifically nityached, set aside, laskart hanes hagadol, v'hu yisem Mitzrayim, to remember Yisrael Mitzrayim. So day 1, the first day of Pesach, you're just thinking about one thing and one thing only, all the mitzvot, and all the events of getting out of Egypt. You think about nothing else. Shu'ot, because that is a sign of Mofet B'chidush Olam. As we said already, that proves that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is creating the world. Or Vashkach al Hashem, Hashem controls the world. Al Bin Adam, and control of humans. Ve'en lanu la'arev b'simchato. You don't want to mix in. You don't want to mix in another simcha. You got enough in your head. I'm remembering coming out of Egypt, and the matzah, and the maror, and the korban Pesach, and all the great miracles that happen for us, and Hashem's watching us, Hashem's taking care of us. You can't start, and by the way, we're going to be at Har Sinai soon. Forget that. That we'll talk about tomorrow night. There's too much going on. Let's just focus, he says, on night 1. What's meant to be happening? Night 2, we'll talk about it. Here in Chos La'aretz, we add it to the Seder because we're in Chos La'aretz. However, that's the reason why. We don't mention anything else besides coming out of Egypt. We don't mention Shavuot, we don't mention any of that. When do we start? Second day, bang! We start the count. Okay? So 2 things we learn from the Chinuch. We count up to show our anticipation, but each day is important. We're not trying to get rid of them. And 2, we start the second day. We count the Omer, which we still do to this day, so that we don't mix together simcha b'simcha. We don't want to take away. When you mention 2 things, it's like when you have double party for 2 people. One's always forgotten, you know what I'm saying? It takes away. We want to focus on the one thing alone. Okay. We'll just see Rav Pinkus on this. Note 4. And he says, Kasher Adam Soferes Hayamim Lekrat Yom Suyam. When a person counts the days towards a certain day, Harili Yamim Shacholfim Bein Time En Meshmot. The days in between are not important to us. You just want to get through them. Ludugma, for example, Adam Shomer Lekabel Matana Gadola Ba'od 50 Yom. If I said to you, 50 days, I'm going to give you an amazing gift. You're going to be so excited. You're going to say 50 days to go, and you're going to keep going till 50 days. And when is it going to go? Only 49 days to go, 39 days to go, whatever it is. He says that's not good. He says Sefirat HaOmer is different. Because during these days, look at this wording, halfway down, Yamim Elohim Yamim Shel B'niya Ruchnit. You're building a spiritual structure. you're building. Each day is built like a brick on top of another brick. Each day is another brick towards the building of a spiritual being. These days should change us. The kasher adam bone binyan, when a person does build a tall building, eser komot, of 10 floors. If you're building a building with 10 floors, you don't say, oh, when am I going to reach the 10th floor? Every floor is important. Because if the first floor isn't good, the second floor is going to be shaky. By the time you get to the 4th floor, you're going to be up. By the 10th floor, the building's going to be on the floor. As in, it ain't going to stand. So he says that's the way to think about it. You're building a structure. 10-story building. Every single coma, every floor has to be right. Because if the 3rd floor isn't good, the 5th floor is going to be off as well. That's his analogy. Right? He says, "Beniti kvar koma achad, koma shniya." He says, I built the 1st floor, now I built the 2nd floor. You build up. Hu lo omer, or notru lo tisha komod lo benod. Oh, I have another night to go. Kach be'am Sefirat says same thing with Sefirat. Anu bonim u'machinim et atzmeinu. We are preparing ourselves, and that's what we should do. We're going to see it's an ancient custom to spiritually prepare yourself during these 49 days to get to Shavuot. There's a special power that is granted to us during these days for spiritual greatness. The Matan Torah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mitzido, Hashem on his part, Muchan latet lana Torah miyad. He wants to give us the Torah immediately. Achanachanu pashut lo mechunim adayin. We're not ready yet. Lachen. So that's why Hashem. Why did Hashem give us the Torah day 2? We weren't ready. We needed to prepare ourselves. We said there were 49 levels of spiritual defilement that the Jewish people were in at that time. So we said, you know what? We had to go 49 days to combat those early 49. So we count 49 to beat those 49. Therefore we count the days of preparation. We count the floors, the spiritual ruchniot, hamachsharot, which prepare us to cross Matan Torah, learn Torah. You don't walk into Shavuot like, okay, I'm here with my Torah. There's got to be some preparation. How long does that take? 49 days. How do we act that out? We count. Counting is the way it's done. That is the mitzvah to prepare. Okay. Thoughts, comments? Still with me?
Yeah, they all just repeated a lot.
What?
They all just repeated a lot.
Yes.
With that.
But each one brings out a new nakuda.
A different example.
Hmm?
They bring like different examples.
Different examples. Think about it, yeah.
It's basically you count.
Yeah. The question actually stands on Hanukkah. On Hanukkah we follow who?
We count down. No, we count up. I don't know.
Hillel. We follow Hillel. Who's the alternative?
Shammai.
What does Shammai say? Count down. Shammai says you start with 8 candles, go down to 1. We don't follow Shammai. Maybe we will one day when Mashiach comes. There are sources that say that. But for now, we count up. What's Shammai thinking? So when we get to Hanukkah, we'll see that Hanukkah is saying, the light represents the Torah giants, and you have to cut it down till you get to the one great one. There already, that's Shammai. We don't go with that. We follow Hillel. Right? We follow Hillel. Hillel was inclusive. Shammai was deconstructing in order to get to a point. That does not work on the Omer. But according to Shammai, it works on Hanukkah. That takes us.